Information is everywhere. But insights, that is rare. BusinessDay Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. BusinessDay Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you. We go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Money.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins. Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you will be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So
But as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. By eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles mastering their market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for smarter navigation, for customizable apps, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Information is
Hello and welcome to BD Special. Today I'm being joined by a woman using advocacy, creativity and policy to reshape conversations around mental health in Nigeria. My guest today is Expensive Lucas, a mental health advocate and executive director of the Glory Lucas Foundation, a non-profit focused on improving child and youth mental health through art, education and systemic reforms. With experience spanning international relations, business development, and multi-stakeholder partnerships across Nigeria and the United States. She's also a visual artist, policy enthusiast, consultant, and advisor committed to building stronger communities through culture and social impact initiative.
Right now in Nigeria, we have a dichotomy. There's a lot of information on mental health. You know, it's like mass consumption. Everyone says something related to mental health, but there's not a lot of substance to it.
Right.
So mental health is such an overused term, but no one truly understands the depth. And so I'd say for young people, because we have commodified or over-commodified the use of mental health in just everyday work for little things that are most times not even relating to the entire subject. Kids see that, or teenagers and young people see that as something bad, something terrible. And so they're in a constant state of, I don't want to be associated to that tag. I don't want to be a part of the people that have this mental health problem. So people won't look at me and think, oh, I have a mental health crisis. So there's just not a lot of substance to it. And it's a much deeper reality than we can fathom, because there's millions of young people. In fact, there was a study recently that 1 in 5, teenager, young person in Nigeria is struggling, with a mental health crisis. And this is old research, not very
recent.
Yeah. So imagine how much worse it is now, and imagine how much deeper this problem goes.
Right. Let's bring it back to the Nigerian home.
Yeah.
When we talk, let me say the African home, because it's not just the Nigerian thing.
Yeah.
So we understand that mental health is still very much understood.
Yes.
And that's because now, everyone uses, my mental health is at stake, or my mental health is. So what role do you think families and the communities can play in having to support, or in supporting or worsening the crisis?
I would first of all go with how families worsen the crisis. A while back, sometime last year, I was talking to a 10-year-old. She was talking to one of the leaders, the psychologists in the class. We had a session with them. Then after, she was talking to our team members and she was crying. And we go to meet her, like, oh, why are you crying? And she says she could relate so much to what they spoke about. I think it was about on PTSD or something along the line. So she could relate so much to it. And we go deep, try to understand what's going on. And then the first thing you ask them, this kid says, have you spoken to an adult, a trusted adult? And most times they will say no, because they're scared. But she was such a very bright young lady. And she said, yes, I've spoken to my mom. And then we asked her, what did your mom say? She was like, her mom said she was being dramatic, that she should get out. And many of these kids have the same problem. When we hear young people going through some sort of struggle, we think, you're so young, there's nothing that could have happened to you in life. Like, you haven't seen life. What is wrong with you? Just go and fix it. And then we just condition them to not express themselves. And we forget that because they're so young, like 10 to 17, those are like the most formative years of an individual's lives. In fact, the World Bank, was the UNICEF, that called it the second window of opportunity, 10 to 19. We forget that the things that we tell them, the way that we put situations to them, shapes how they perceive it. And that's how we're worsening the crisis. Now, how can we make it better? Maybe if we took them more seriously, maybe if we as adults, parents, took a responsibility to care emotionally about care about the emotional state, the mental state of our young people, we would probably be helping solve the crisis. I think it's something that as adults we owe young people.
What about the schools? Do you think the school is actually doing enough when it comes to the well-being of these children and to support the students? Do you think the system, our educational system, is doing enough?
I think there's a lot more work that we can do.
Okay.
I think that, decent baseline, but in operation, in sustainability, there's a lot more work that we can do as the schools, the educational system. There's a lot more work we can do in the mental health and emotional part of education.
Right.
There's a lot more work.
Now let's take it to social media. I believe that is where the most actually happens, because most people now. It's in my opinion, it's no longer the community that actually shape how a person sees themselves. It's now social media.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you think it's helping, the whole mental health awareness, or it's contributing more pressure and anxiety?
So social media is a double-edged sword.
Right.
It could be a very great tool to, create awareness. I mean, we have a huge social media page. We're always online. We want to, because kids have, young people, teenagers, everyone has access to social media some way or the other. And so it's a good tool for that. But it is also worsening the problem because there's so much overconsumption and there's so much access to different unfiltered kinds of information and imageries that just shapes how users, young people, perceive themselves. They see things online, they feed up what they see online, and it just worsens the general problem. So I like to think that we're going to have, we're going to have to get to a middle point where there's some sort of control for young people. Like I'm talking really young teenagers with how they consume social media, and maybe that way we can limit the negative side effects that it has on their minds and their self-image and mental health and all of that.
But most people actually relate to testimonies. Let me put it that way. So I want you to walk us through your own, advocacy. What has been the most emotional, eye-opening, experience for you in all of this?
The most eye-opening experience. I would go back to the young lady I was talking about.
Right.
What I did not mention when I was telling you about, how we found her was she had looked us in the eye and said that she wanted to kill herself. She was 10 years old.
And she understood.
She understood. And what the scariest part of it, or rather the saddest part of it, was she said, but she didn't know how to. So for a 10-year-old to tell you that, this very bright young lady, they wanted to kill themselves. I think that was the moment that I realized that we have a much deeper problem and much deeper work to do.
Right.
And I was like, we have to keep going. There's so many young people. I mean, she was able to get a safe space in us. We're able to just get her back, reintegrate her, help her. But what about the other young people that don't have this access?
Right. So for the other people who don't, have access to having to speak to you one-on-one, and they're actually battling anxiety, depression, or emotional struggle, how can they seek help? And what can you say to them to actually make them know that they're not alone, and they have people like you advocating for them and rooting for them?
I want to say that the scariest thing about struggling with your mental health is feeling alienated, feeling like it's just you. And I say this as someone that has struggled with her own mental health for quite a while. One thing I do have to say to people, that one thing I want them to know deep in their minds is it's not a one-man struggle. There's so many people out there probably going through the same thing that you're going through. and seeking for help, reaching out to someone, telling a friend, telling just someone close to you isn't something you should be ashamed of. It's not something that you should consider weak. It's not weak to struggle with your mental health. It's like having a headache. We all have headaches. We have headaches and we go and get paracetamol. So why can you not feel sad or depressed and want to seek help? You're going to talk to someone. That's your paracetamol. It's not weak to want to seek for help. So I think that's one thing I want to say to them.
Thank you so much, Expensive Lucas. And I must say, your name, you actually look like your name, Expensive Lucas. It was really good to have you and be special.
It was really nice. And I think one thing I want to add is just more context on a project that we're launching.
Right.
And I think that I wanted to share that to just everyone that would probably read this or listen to this. So when we started, a core part of, like you already know, institutional reforms and just something systemic, we started working on a project, a journal project to integrate journaling to kids and students in secondary schools to see how that would impact their emotional literacy and how they express themselves. So we spent 5 months working with a sample base of over 400 kids across Lagos State, introducing just plain blank journals to them and then studying just the reception, just baseline, post impact, how that has reflected in their communications with teachers and students. And from that research base, we took our flaws and we found that it was helpful. Like a lot of the kids that we had to help came from this whole sample. And we created an interactive journal. It's called the Safe Space. And we are putting that, to the world. And we want to give that to as many kids as possible, over 500,000. We're actually looking at an institutional plan with the Lagos State government and just extending across Nigeria and even West Africa, because it's a very culturally relevant project. And I just want people to look forward to that, because I am very excited for it. And I think everyone that has seen it also across the country, the continent, we actually had a team of excellent reviewers from Yale, Duke, just review the project, and they're excited, and I want everyone to look forward to it.
All right, we are also excited here at Business Day. We're really excited. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Expensive
so much,
Lucas.
Debbie.
Thank you for your time.
It was so nice talking to you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Intentional conversations and an atmosphere centered on emotional wellness sets the tone at the launch of the Safe Space Journal, organized by the Glory Lucas Foundation in Lagos. The event, themed Unmuted Expression, Identity and Dreams, brought together students, educators, mental health professionals, policy makers, and advocates to explore the importance of emotional expression, inclusion, and safe spaces for young Nigerians. Organizers say the journal was created to encourage emotional awareness, self-expression, and healthier conversations around mental well-being among teenagers. Developed with support from psychologists and educators, the initiative targets young people between the ages of 10 and 17, using guided reflection and creative expression as tools for emotional support and personal growth.
I think that for us, it has just been a very important project. It's actually been 1 year and 6 months in the making. So from January last year that we've been working on this. And for us, we want to give the users, mostly students, because the journals are for ages 10 to 17 primarily. They were designed for them in mind, to give them a safe space, as it's called, just a little home where they can express themselves, where they can look into their inner thoughts. So it's not just for emotions, it's also for dreams. What do you want to dream? Just be your unbridled, most realistic self, because we found out, like I said, also this is a very research heavy project. We actually spent 5 months working on a sample base of over 500 teenagers in Lagos State, and we wanted to just give them a tool to just express themselves.
Beyond conversations around mental health, the event also celebrated identity, creativity, and inclusion through spoken word performances and cultural presentations by students from participating schools. Stakeholders at the event stressed that emotional well being must become part of broader conversations around education, youth development, and social support systems.
Currently, we're making progress with mental health. However, the problems are still there. They are imminent. But we need spaces like this foundation, Glory Lucas Foundation, safe spaces, and other, resources that we can gather to help salvage the situation, to continually help salvage the situation. It wasn't as it was worse than it is right now, because there were times that children, young people have no space, they have nobody to speak to. Mental health was stigmatized, but however, these days, the awareness is out, the sensitization is out. People know that it's okay not to be okay.
I think it's a very important synergy, right, to sort of like find, because I'm a chess player and we're teaching children to become chess champions. So in many ways, chess is very deeply psychological. So it requires a lot of thinking. But then beyond the thinking about the game in itself, you need to be in the right frame of mind to be able to make the best moves and make the best plan. And this is even more significant for children because, for adults, there's a lot more awareness about their mental health and well-being. But forget that for children, it's even so much more important because they're still in their formative years and are so much more deeply affected by the change that they're experiencing.
Government representatives at the event also emphasized the importance of creating safer and more inclusive environments for young people to express themselves and access emotional support. Stakeholders say stronger collaboration between government institutions, schools, and mental health advocates will be critical in addressing the growing emotional and psychological pressures facing young Nigerians.
Thank you. Again, thank you for taking time out of no time to be here. It means a lot to each and every one of us, especially Expensive and her team. So for me, it's very profound to acknowledge each and every one of you. Expensive, you and your entire team, well done. I'm proud of you. That's why I'm here. I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't turn up this morning. She's one of my mentees. I am the Commissioner for Youth and Social Development here in Lagos. And of course, what that means is every young person from the age of officially 15 to 35, but of course, younger, I am responsible, for all your policies, for all your programs, for all your well-being, so when I'm invited to important, programs like this, I also find time out of no time to make sure I turn up so that few things can happen. One, you get to see your commissioner. Do you know me before today? And you have a commissioner that you don't know. It's an opportunity for you to see your commissioner to say, okay, that is the person sitting in the government for us.
Discussion during the panel session focused on expression, identity, and the importance of building environments where young people feel safe expressing themselves without fear of stigma or judgment.
We had a lot, but from the little we had, my parents were always willing to share. So for me, it ingrained that value system in my head that the reason why we have is so we can give others. But now you can, and I promise you, this is the most important thing that you ever learn about yourself. And maybe as you grow older, whatever talent you have a real opportunity to use it to help others.
Most times, one thing I would expect in terms of results may not be exactly what we're getting that time, but it doesn't mean we should stop, right? Maybe we have to change our approach, maybe we have to change the direction. We have to always ensure outcomes of situations don't really define us. It just makes us know we can go back and work on it again.
He had for you. And another thing he said, which is about you have to commit, consistency. Discipline is doing the thing that you're meant to do when you don't want to do it. You just keep doing it. Discipline, consistency.
Participants also highlighted the need for increased awareness, emotional education, and accessible support systems within schools and communities.
So I believe they need a place where they can see as an Harvard, where they can also explore, express, bring out their thoughts, good, bad, ugly, where they can bring it out, where they can exhaust some stress, you know. And I believe this program will really help these children with the book. We also help these children see this as an Harvard, and then help us know how the child gets better, how the child gets a progress.
The official unveiling of the Safe Space Journal marked a major milestone for the Glory Lucas Foundation, which says it plans to expand access to emotional wellness tools for young people across Nigeria. Organizers say the long-term goal is not only to raise awareness around mental health, but to build practical and accessible support systems capable of helping young Nigerians navigate emotional and social challenges more confidently. And advocates say creating safe emotional spaces for young people will require sustained investment, awareness, and stronger support system both within schools and across communities.
Countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big smile. Safe space.
Deborah Eze, Business Day Television.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Doreen is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International News Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Day. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
On May 22, 2026, Polymer Packaging Limited, in collaboration with the Lagos Recyclers Association and Switch Recycling, organized a capacity development seminar on PET bottle aggregation, quality control and management. The event brought together stakeholders, government officials and private sector players to discuss the future of Nigeria's PET recycling value chain and the importance of high-quality feedstock in driving sustainability. Delivering the opening address, President of Lagos Recyclers Association, Dr. Bakare Oluwafemi, stressed the need for stronger collaboration and improved standards within the recycling sector.
We get money, we look for space, we listen to motivational speakers, we open Instagram, somebody on Instagram said you can become a billionaire by collecting waste, and then you just go to your work and you resign. And when you start collecting and supplying, the story changes. Today we are going to know why. Why am I not driving my G-Wagon yet? You know, so we are going to learn a lot. So we've been given our notes. Please let us pay total attention. Let's take notes. And I have the opportunity to also say there's going to be a prize that we are going to win today. And that will come through attentiveness. How much do you know recycling? Like I said, you can't be here if you don't know at least the introductory aspect of recycling.
In his keynote address, the managing director of Polysmart Packaging Limited, Mr. Wasil Balogun, highlighted the growth of Nigeria's recycling industry and its contribution to economic development.
So we have to correct an impression. What you call yourself is exactly what you are. What you call yourself is exactly what you are. And I'll try and expatiate on that. When you see recyclers, people relate it to death, dirty things. Some people will say, "Hey, I'm a recycler. I am an akole." Come on, you are not. In Nigeria today, we consume at least 1 million tons of all plastics. 1 million tons, to be very conservative anyway. At the recycling value of 500 naira per kg, that is about 500 billion naira industry. That is what you are representing. In collection, I'm not talking about processing. In collection, I'm a chartered accountant by training. I was a banker. Polysmart is the only Nigerian company investing or has the capability to produce rPET in Nigeria. In the entire African continent, we have 6 countries. We have 6 companies in the entire African continent that produce food-grade rPET. Polysmart is the only Nigerian company amongst all.
The first technical session, led by Polysmart's Group Head of Quality Assurance, Ernest Ubasineke, focused on PET quality standards, industry benchmarks, and post-consumer bottle collection.
Safer that way. You don't have to crack your head whether is this HD, is it not HD, is it PP, is it that, you know. Very simple. Water bottle, beverage bottle. When we say beverage bottle, Coke, Fanta, Mirinda, Pepsi, all those ones are okay. And what colors do we want? Clear and light blue. Because there are beverage bottles that are colored. Like your malt drink is colored. So there are a lot of beverage bottles, both carbonated and non-carbonated, that are colored. For us in Polysmart, our focus is clear and light blue. Clear and light blue, clear or transparent. I will show you images. And to a very large extent, my presentation has a lot of visuals. Okay? Visuals because we are collectors. People who are collecting, they might not be so educated to know a lot of things. It's easier for them to see and pick. So that is why there's a lot of visuals here. And also, finally, we're looking at how do we collaborate to advise us on what is the best quality when you supply and how we can accept your product. Next slide.
Speaking during the second session, Special Assistant on One Health at the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Femi Idowu Adegoke, spoke on aggregation best practices and effective waste stream management within Lagos recycling ecosystem.
They come with that mindset that they are coming to make money. And then when they get there, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years, the money is way in this place. There's no way for these jokers. You understand? But now we need to understand how to make that work. The part that we need to play in that quality assurance that Polysmart and the likes require for us to have that maximum wealth or profitability. So, next slide. So, like I said, aggregation is the business, not just collection. Don't just see yourself as a collector. See that collection process you're doing as a business. And if you're seeing it as a business, you do what businesses do. What do businesses do? Businesses plan ahead, businesses improve, businesses add quality, add value to what they do, and they get profit at the end of it.
4 young participants received grant of 500,000 naira each to support their involvement in the sector.
From us, we have 500,000 naira, but we do differently, and it should be 500,000 naira to each one of them.
Participants later engaged in a workshop session where they were given tutorials on recycling workspace, equipment operation, and also participated in groups on pet bill management, pricing disputes, and quality assurance.
We have contamination topside, we have organic, we have sand. All these will come into this thermal screen. The material go out because the bottles will shake the bottles like that, and all the organic go alone. All the reject go alone, and the bottle approximately clean from outside, go to the label remover. Washing line and the hot wash line to transform the flakes to go food grade. How food grade? We have chemical like caustic soda, will wash with detergent, so all this material will wash again.
Experts say tackling contamination and improving quality control remain key to building a more sustainable pet recycling industry in Nigeria. Amanda Imosigure, Business Day Television.
As Nigeria stands at a critical turning point, we move beyond the conversation of mere survival. This year, Business Day presents the 2026 edition of the CEO Forum, themed From Stability to Shared Prosperity. Join the nation's most influential CEOs, policymakers, and business leaders with keynote insights from Taiwo Oyedele, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, and the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Kadoso, alongside a powerful lineup of voices shaping Nigeria's economic future. Happening on the 16th of July 2026 here in Lagos. For more information, call Uchenna on 0809 645 3535 or Shegun on 0812 024 3167 or Daniel on 0802 756 4653. This is not just a conference. It's where conversations become decisions that shape the future of business.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Dorin is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International Media Association. All welcome, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about business days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring, they're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
Entrepreneurship is for everybody, but not everybody is for entrepreneurship.
They are the dreamers.
I remember it was like 3 a.m. by 21st of December 2021.
The disruptors.
Luxury is not affordable, let's be real.
The doers.
BusinessDay Academy has trained over 3,000 event professionals.
In a place where the odds don't play fair, they play harder.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected turns.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw.
I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
And real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And it not only yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on BusinessDay television.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected turns.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw.
I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
And real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And it not only yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on BusinessDay television.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo. My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Welcome to Business Morning segment on the Breakfast Show right here on Business Day Television, and we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Norma Obuna, and it's great to have you with us this morning. Technology has become an essential part of modern life, influencing how we communicate, learn, work, and entertain ourselves. As tech companies continue to develop products that shape our daily experiences, a critical question emerges. Are these products genuinely designed to improve users' lives, or are they primarily created to drive profits and business growth? To help us understand the implications and answer this big question today is Yuchini Bida, who is a brilliant product manager. Welcome to the show, Yuchini.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on your program today.
You're welcome. So we have a lot of questions today, because today's topic, as you can see,
well.
people are wondering, are we being farmed for just money, or are those products that you make and manage meant to improve our lives? And today I just want to know, as product management, from your perspective, what truly drives product development in tech companies today? Are they user needs or just for profitability?
Thank you for this question. In tech companies, product development is really driven by one factor. It is an interface between the user needs and profitability. However, business also needs sustainable revenue. That is why it is very much interesting that to look at the sustainability aspect instead of just relying on the user needs. User need is what at the end drive the product to achieving what you want to achieve, because if you put the users in your core, it therefore means that the designing a product will dependently much on the users, and by the time you have them, the long-term sustainability of that company will be very key. The challenge for product managers is ensuring that profit is a result of creating genuine value rather than extracting value from users. The healthiest companies view profitability as an outcome of customer satisfaction, not just substitute for it. So it has to be a continuous engagement, looking at your users' benefits and the profitability angle. Because at the core, what even brings about the creation of a product is their need for users in the market. What do they really need? As you're doing that, you have to design it considering so many factors. So as you do that, you should equally remember that sustainability of that particular tech company is very important. So it has to be the balance of two in whatever you do. So while engineers and designers often focus on solving users' problem, corporate survival dictates that solution must be financially viable. Thank you very much.
So many digital platforms are free to use but heavily monetized through advertising, which many people have started experiencing. You can't even scroll through any page now without seeing an advertisement. So how does that business model influence the user experience?
Okay, the advertising-based business model dictates almost every aspect of user experience. It influences so much. Simply because users are not ready to pay. Most users are not ready to pay. Permit me to use that. Not all users. So in that particular situation, you have to create a model where you should be able to get a balance. Like I said earlier, the sustainability angle of it is key. So some funds can be getting from the advertisement angle because not all users are ready to pay for product. So you have to find a way. But ultimately, that model can create that monetization, that advice can create tremendous access affordability for an emerging market. For example, Nigeria is an emerging market. It's not yet fully structured. So you have to find a way that you can balance it because funds is something that is very important in the tech company as well for sustainability, like I said earlier on. So we have to make sure that we have a balance. Everything we're doing has to be a balance in terms of the product. When users don't pay with money, companies often generate revenue through advertising, which means attention becomes an important business asset. However, it can also incentivize products to maximize time spent rather than maximize value delivered. So product teams must be careful that advertising supports experience rather than dominating it. So like I said earlier, it has to be the balance. It has to be something that has to be a continuous engagement, not just sticking to a single model. It has to be a different model to have a balance so that you can equally maximize the user benefit and also the sustainability angle of the business. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you are saying, if I get what you're saying, that we need to find a middle ground where the app is both profitable and also helping users improve their lives.
Very true. Very true. Okay. That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right. So with features like
because when the platform is heavily monetized through art, its primary design goal is no longer just maximizing user satisfaction, but user satisfaction is key. So let's not heavily depend on it. That's just what I'm saying.
All right. Thank you so much for clearing that up. So features like infinite scrolling, play rather, and constant notifications are designed to increase engagement, if you agree with me. At what point does engagement become manipulation, where people can no longer step away from their phones even?
All right. Engagement becomes manipulation at the tipping point of autonomy, which occurs when a platform interface actively overrides a user's conscience, intent, psychological well-being, or self-control to exert economic value. Meaning, if the whole idea about it is the product, you don't care about ethical considerations, you don't care about some certain things that ordinarily could help, then it shows that it's a manipulation. So engagement becomes manipulation when design choices primarily serve the platform's interests while undermining the user's ability to make informed and intentional decisions. A useful test is transparency and control. If users clearly understand what's happening and can easily choose how they interact with the product, that's engagement. How they interact with the product creates an engagement. So that's key. But when psychological triggers are used to keep people consuming content beyond their intentions, what are the intentions? What are the user's needs? When you create a product that goes beyond the user's need, it's now manipulation. So we begin entering into ethical questions, territory, because there are ethics to how products are managed. There are regulations, there are laws. So but when you now make it in such a way that the user interface
is beyond the intention. It's manipulating and taking advantage of, let's say, like a growing environment like Nigeria.
Okay, so I would like to also know, do tech companies intentionally compete for human attention? And how central is the attention economy to modern product strategy?
Again, please. I'm so sorry.
Okay. So I'll take the question again. So I said, do tech companies intentionally compete for human attention? Because we can see that human attention is the new currency here. And how central is the attention economy for modern product strategy?
Absolutely. Attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the digital economy. You can't put on a product and you just go for, let's look for views. You just put on a product like this program we're doing, you look at the views. If you don't have much view, it's giving you some sort of a bad review, right? So yes, tech companies intentionally compete for human attention, treating it as a scarce commodity that is directly tied to revenue growth. That doesn't necessarily mean attention is bad. The question is what companies do with that attention once they have earned it. The most responsible organizations focus on creating meaningful engagement rather than simply maximizing screen time. So when you have the attention, what do you do? What do you feed your users? What sort of a product do you do? Does it help them? Is it aligning to your vision, to the purpose of designing those products in the first place? You get the attention. So what next? So looking at maximizing it, taking advantage of it to equally benefit the users is key.
Okay. All right, so let me take you back a bit to what we were earlier talking about when it comes to manipulation and the psychological weapons as well. So I would want to know, are consumers becoming more aware that their time, behavior, and data are effectively part of products that are being sold in today's market?
Yes, the consumers are highly aware of it. They know what is happening. They are increasingly understanding that their clicks, preferences, behaviors, and attention have economic value. That's why some of them now group themselves into what you call influencers, into different type of community. It's a whole ecosystem. So they understand that. However, awareness is not the same as understanding. Not all of them understand the economic value of what they're doing, how they are doing it, and how they could be able to maximize every particular product. Many users still don't fully grasp how data is collected, analyzed, and monetized. This creates a responsibility for companies to be more transparent. As much as we are into our products, we should also understand that we and the users are a team. One cannot exist without the other.
Absolutely.
The product, the company for sustainability, the users for making sure that we achieve that sustainability. Without them, definitely you can't even think about designing a product. So they are our targeted audience. So when we see ourselves as partners, that's why we have to make sure we have a responsibility to be more transparent to them and for them to understand definitely what we are into.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful take. I would want us to go back to when you talked about balance. So how do product teams balance business growth targets with user well-being and ethical concerns as well?
Okay. Product team balance business growth targets with users' well-being by implementing explicit ethical guardrails, alternative metrics, and counterbalancing KPIs, key performance indicators. So the best products team recognize that users' well-being and long-term business success are not opposing goals. In fact, they are often aligned. Like I said earlier, it's partners, we're partners. So responsible team measures not only growth metrics, but also trust, retention, customer satisfaction, safety, and overall user outcomes. the conversation should move beyond can we build this or should we build this, and what are the long-term consequences? Not just wanting to build a product, not just wanting to enter into the market. What are the long-term consequences of what we're doing? Because there's a digital footprint in whatever we do. So we should be able to know that we're being monitored in whatever we're doing. And we could be called to account for each and every of our actions at every given time. So that's why the long-term consequences of such should be factored.
So I was about to ask you about accountability just now, but you already answered that. But I would like you to throw more light on if product managers should be held accountable for the psychological and social impact of the products that they create.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
All right, so sorry. Yeah. I think whether product managers should be held accountable or not is a matter that has to be given some careful considerations. There is this vicarious relationship, or what did they call it? Of course, I think, to my own thinking as a product manager, this should be a consideration. Product managers make decisions that influence how millions of people interact with technology. Because that influence, ethical thinking should be considered a professional responsibility. Just as the financial decisions have consequences, decisions have consequences too. So whatever it takes, we should, as a matter of policy, make sure that for every product design, ethical issues should be at the front.
Okay.
We should not just set up a product for the simple fact that we want to manipulate. One, we want to take advantage. Two, most especially in an environment like Nigeria, there's an emerging tech market. So we should be able to know. And one thing about Nigerians that I can say is that we're community in nature. We're communal in nature, rather.
Yes,
sorry, please.
yes.
We're communal in nature. So in a way, we are connected. We're in a escapable network of mutuality. In a way, if you don't do it so right, you may be affecting someone so dear to you. So those things should be a factor, even if you think nothing will happen. Because of our interconnectivity as a community, it has a way of coming back to you. It could be boomerang. So definitely, people should be accountable for any product design.
Thank you so much. So I also want to know, in markets like Nigeria, as you said, we're very communal, where our digital adoption is rapidly growing, and are users more vulnerable to exploitative platform design?
Yes. There are certainly unique vulnerabilities. There are a lot of vulnerable people in the market because I think not all of us enter into the market at the same time, most especially the users. Not all of us view products the same way. Some people want it for one function or the other. So in that particular something, many internet users are joining digital platforms faster than digital literacy. Most people just feel once phone is in their hands, they just want to do it. That's why I think recently, I think the UK is trying to introduce a law that you have to be 16 years before you can access the social media. So those are some of the things that they are trying to save. These are safeguard mechanism for the vulnerable people. So equally, we should look at this can make it harder to recognize manipulative patterns if there are no laws, there are no checks in place, because there are some people that misinform. Some of the people are predatory. Monetary strategies done by those products. So they have a different intention with that. So whatever the situation, at the same time, Nigeria has one of the world's most innovative and entrepreneurial digital populations. So whatever we do, I will always emphasize, you don't just do the product for the product's sake. You don't just look at the company. You have to look at the user benefit as well. Because whether you like it or not, at the end, without those, you cannot be able to be sustainable. Sustainability plan is equally important in whatever you are designing. So for you to be able to achieve a sustainability plan, you have to consider the user benefit as well.
Okay, so for users that are vulnerable and are not waiting for the government to maybe provide such buffers that would protect them, what are some measures that you think that they can take now to protect themselves from exploitative platform design?
In one of your questions, you asked about accountability. So it's equally important, like I said earlier, people designing this product should be held accountable to some of the things they send outside for people to consume. So as a matter of priority, we should be able to make sure that product managers come together. And there is this peer review mechanism you have with the African leaders that I think was set up by Thabo Mbeki or something like that. So we could look at a situation where we are self-policing. What actually do we want? How do we want it? How can we be able to regulate the ecosystem? We can do it amongst ourselves. We can be able to set up some certain policy and say, all right, what do we need to do? And we should be able to help the market space, the government as well. We should be able to be seen contributing to regulating the space. Without that, if we eventually lose the trust of the community, I can assure you then the product we're designing and what have you will not be accepted by the people. So the trust is very key. We have to build a product that stimulates trust, a product that makes people want to believe in us. Why would people want to read Business Day? Why do people want to listen to the program? Because they know at the core of their decision is the fact that their interest is also protected, because they wouldn't want to send a product to the populace, something that will be injurious. That is why no matter what I'm going to be speaking about, they try to ensure balance. Do they allow me to go to extreme left or extreme right? They have to find a middle ground for me as well.
Okay, so let's
also
look
product
at
managers should be doing that.
Okay, let's look at the African scene in general. Do you think that African tech startups approach product design differently from the large global tech companies abroad, particularly around trust and community impact?
Okay, going by your question, you're asking, looking ahead, do we see a future of technology becoming human-centered, right, or more profit-driven, right?
Yes.
Okay, I believe both forces will continue to exist, but I'm optimistic that the future will become more human-centered. Users are demanding transparency, regulators are becoming more active, investors increasingly recognize that trust is a business asset, and product leaders are having more conversation about ethics than ever before. The companies that thrive in the future will not be those that capture the most attention, but those that earn the most trust. In the long run, technology succeeds when human outcomes and business outcomes reinforce each other, while the baseline consumer going by your question, you're asking, looking ahead, do we see a future of technology becoming human-centered, right, or more profit-driven, right?
Yes.
Okay, I believe both forces will continue to exist, but I'm optimistic that the future will become more human-centered. Users are demanding transparency, regulators are becoming more active, investors increasingly recognize that trust is a business asset, and product leaders are having more conversation about ethics than ever before. The companies that thrive in the future will not be those that capture the most attention, but those that earn the most trust. In the long run, technology succeeds when human outcomes and business outcomes reinforce each other, while the baseline consumer experience on mass market platform will become even more ruthlessly profit-driven and automated. A premium, highly regulated market is key, most especially to the emerging market. If we want to compete with the developed market, then we have to find a balance. I always emphasize on balance. It's not all about me, it's not all about the target, it's not all about the key performance indicators, but it's all about the user satisfaction as well. So going forward, as we're designing our KPIs to product managers and staff as well, we should be looking at structuring it around user satisfaction as well. So if we design a product that's human-centered, in the long run, it is us, it is the product that benefits at the end, the tech companies rather, that benefits at the end. So it's an ongoing conversation, it's an ongoing developmental stage that we have to keep looking until we are able to get to that particular moment that we have a product that is human-centered without compromising the financial viability of the tech companies.
Okay, thank you so much, Yichini Bida, for your wonderful insights and also for joining us on Business Morning this Tuesday. That will be the most we'll be touching on today's segment. We had a very wonderful time with you, and we hope to see you another time on the show. And I'm sure that our listeners as well, users and product managers, have learned one or two from this very insightful conversation. And that will be the most we'll be taking today. I am Norma Obona, and up next is Big Story.
Welcome to Reflections Nigeria. This is where we discuss issues around our country, whether they are political, whether they are social, whether they are economic issues. We just sit down here and analyze some of those issues to your understanding. And today, as usual, we have in the studio two gentlemen, the Sunday editor of BusinessDay newspaper, Mr. Zebulon Agomo, and of course, the assistant editor also here at BusinessDay, Mr. Chuka Uroko. And together this afternoon, we are going to be looking at two key issues, one of which just occurred, and that is the court order that 5 political parties should be deregistered by INEC. We'll be looking at that, the implication of deregistering ADC, a very major opposition party in this political dispensation, where Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president, is flying the presidential ticket of that party in the coming 2027 election. And of course, we'll also be looking at the issue of insecurity, which is gaining stronger momentum, if I may use that word, across the country. I think it's no longer something that we all of us are afraid. I mean, maybe all of us might just be consumed. We don't know. So we'll be asking the question: has Nigeria lost the security battle against whether they are Boko Haram, whether you call them bandits, whether you call them terrorists, all over the place? I mean, people are dying in the terrorist dens. Some are being even killed by the terrorists themselves. So, have we lost the battle as a country? So, these are some of these are the two issues we are going to be looking at today. And gentlemen, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you again in the studio today. And I think without wasting much of our time, we should get jump on this immediately. Just yesterday, the news broke that the Federal High Court has ordered that INEC should deregister 5 political parties. And this has thrown the country into some kind of political disequilibrium, if I may use that word. People are running, and a lot of issues have been raised. I mean, why now? Why did you wait till now? Why is it that INEC did not, do his job properly to have noticed that these political parties do not meet the constitutional requirements to remain as a political party? Why is it that these parties have gone ahead to do their convention. Presidential candidates have emerged, governorship candidates have emerged, candidates for Senate and House of Reps and what have you have emerged. And suddenly there's a court order saying, look, they do not meet the constitutional requirement for them to continue as a political party. And of looking at the section 225A of the 1999 Constitution that say, look, for you to remain as a political party, you must have at least win 25%, at least in one state, or maybe you must have won also either governorship or maybe you have a member in the House of Reps or maybe in the Senate or maybe at the local government level. You have won a seat, and that these parties they do not meet those requirements. And I think the guys who went to court, they call themselves Association of Former Lawmakers, Legislators. They are the one who went to court. And here we are. Zeb, I'm going to start with you. Have we come to a point where it looks as if we might really have APC, as some people have insinuated, that look, at the end of the day, it might just be a one-horse race? Or what do you think? How did you receive the information or the news about this, the court ordering INEC to register these political parties?
Well, thank you, George. First, I would say that what we are seeing is very unfortunate. I will come back to that. But you know that politics is not like you are in the church. When you are in a church, you are heavenly minded. Your target is just to please God as much as possible. So you try to be righteous. You try to play to the rule and put into practice whatever your pastor is preaching to you from the scriptures. So while you are trying to walk the narrow way in such a way as to please the Lord, you will not want to offend your neighbor because you are heavenly minded. In the journey and in the battle, political battle, I think those who engage in such battles don't have conscience, particularly as it is being played in Nigeria. So it is a dog-eat-dog exercise. So they want to invoke anything invocable to destroy their opponents. So what happened to ADC and other parties yesterday should not be a surprise to anybody, because we have seen the handwriting on the wall that it's not yet too hurry for the party. Don't forget that ADC is still having a court case under it, because by the time the Supreme Court gave a ruling that David Mark, not the Supreme Court rather, the Court of Appeal gave ruling that David Mark had been recognized. It just directed them back to the lower court, to decide the internal squabble they are having.
And that case is still pending.
And that case is still pending. It has not been dispensed with. So, which means that while the ADC is preparing for the election, there is still a chain at its back, drawing it back, because the ADC cannot be said that it is free to run in that election. Now, these latest limitations that have just been coming, and in fact, it's not as if they even, not only that they have a case at the lower court over the internal crisis, now is that the party risk being struck out of the from INEC list. So yes, Justice Lifu may have taken that decision. But what people are seeing is the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob. So they still believe that what is happening to ADC may not be far from the ruling party, because the ruling party may not be comfortable to see ADC on the ballot. Yes, the law has been there, and it is also a constitutional provision that any party that had not secured victory at a certain level since its foundation or formation had no basis continuing to exist. If you recall, Tahir Jega some time ago also deregistered about over 70 political parties, reducing the number to 18 at that time. So, but at this time, the question and why it concerns everybody is concerned is that why is it coming at this time, few months to a national general election? So that is where people are reading meaning, that this may not be a judiciary turn after all. There may have been a reason, or the people, the association of former lawmakers, what are they trying to gain by going to court to ensure that parties are deregistered? So I think that the more you look, the less you see, as people say. So what is happening to ADC is beyond that. Coming to Adeleke, you know, the persecution, in quotes, that Adeleke had been facing in Osun State. And this election is coming very, very soon. Governorship election, and you are deregistering the party on the platform of which he's contesting. So you discover that beyond the judgment given by Lifu yesterday, there are other things that miss the eye.
Okay, Chuka, I think that let me just narrow it down because one of the key opposition figures is Atiku Abubakar, who interestingly is the presidential candidate of the ADC. With this ruling, where does this lead, or where does this leave Atiku? Do you see this? I know definitely they are going to appeal against this ruling, but if I may just ask you, how do you think this will affect Atiku himself? I mean, even psychologically.
I think you have just said it, so you thought that no matter the confidence he may have in himself and even in the system, it will affect him psychologically. And just as my colleague here said, the people who actually play politics in Nigeria, sometimes I begin to ask myself, are they really different from people who are politicians in other countries of the world? And it goes beyond even politicians. It's like immediately somebody lives ordinary way of life and joins either government or politics, he loses conscience, loses his soul. And that is why what has happened in Nigeria yesterday against political parties is not in any way different from what happens, especially in some states, especially Lagos, where you will allow a man to build his house, start from foundation, pull it up to occupation level, and government now discovers that there is something wrong with the building and goes ahead to bring it down, pull it down, makes nonsense or whatever somebody's savings in life. Political parties were busy in the last 1 month conducting primaries. People emerged as candidates. They are no longer aspirants at this stage. They are candidates just waiting for the election, preparing, gathering money and everything. All of a sudden, something comes from somewhere and says, "Oh, the party no longer exists." The way it is planned, it didn't go for the individual. It goes for the platform on which the person wants to realize his dream. So if you're talking about how will somebody like Atiku feel, Atiku particularly had been desperate. Everybody knows he was a desperate politician. So this kind of happening will make him all the more desperate. Of course, there's no way he will not appeal this kind of judgment, because he wants to actualize this dream. Already has said after 2027, it's no more for him. So he's going to give it his all, because he knows he's fighting like somebody who is drowning. If he doesn't make the necessary effort, take the necessary action, he will drown. And this is part of the processes that lead to his drowning, God forbid. But he actually will do something to make sure that he doesn't just take it like that. Just imagine somebody who picked his running mate just that same yesterday, and then this thing occurs. And those who are their opponents, especially the ruling party, you don't see their faces. You know, when you are fighting somebody, at least that person will be standing, you will be standing. But this one is that you don't see the face of somebody who is fighting you. He uses a medium that you don't know who that. And these are government institutions. Tinubu has not come out to say, do you know that I don't like you? But there are so many avenues, so many areas where you can just tell you that he's in charge and there's nothing you can do. So for Atiku, and especially Adeleke he referred to, these are the worst hit politicians at the moment. For Adeleke, he was kind of chased away from his former party, the PDP, and then there was no way at all for him in the APC. So he decided to go solo, because with the incumbency power and the money available to him, he thought that any political party, no matter how insignificant, no matter how small it is, he can realize his dream from there. And don't forget that they use small parties like that to win election, and then retrace their steps to come back to the bigger parties. So now, I don't know whether I call party as well. Every party has conducted this primaries, and he has emerged as the governorship candidate. So for him, no more is like there's no more. And then don't forget that Osun State is a very strategic state, because of some insinuation somewhere that somebody may have come from that state, somebody may have interest in that particular state. And anywhere, why did they choose some of these parties? Why didn't they go for where Shea Makinde, that's his party, APM. Why didn't they go for Obi's party? NDC. I think
no, that was just registered yesterday. They have not
so
and not only that,
it's going to be their first.
And not only that, they know that if they had registered Obi's party, it will raise a lot of dust, more than what they are. There was no reason for them to go. So what I feel is that Atiku is not going to swallow it just hook and sinker. He must make effort, because having said that 2027 is for him the last year and the last period for after 7 years of trying to become president of Nigeria. So he's not going to take it just lying low. So we are looking for some interesting things to happen ahead of us.
Thank you. Perhaps we should even just mention all of the parties that court has ordered INEC to register. They are ADC, that's African Democratic Congress, Accord Party, Action Alliance, that's the Action People's Party, APP, and of course the Zenith Labour Party. Those are the 5 parties.
Zenith Labour Party by Dan Anyanwu.
But even let's come back to, because I mean, just before we, just behind the scene, I mentioned the fact that law is like a sleeping dog.
Until you wake it up.
Before you know that whether it can bite or whether it cannot bite. But if you actually look at that section, the 255A of 255A, 225A of the Constitution of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the conditions are well spelled out. So, is there any sentiment in this really? I mean, if you do not meet the requirement of the constitution, should you really exist as a political party? Because there are some guys who just run a one-man show, so to say. Like, for instance, the Zenith Labour Party. So it's like a one-man show. I mean, you just say, okay, you see, okay, you want to register a political party. I mean, you apply to INEC. Maybe you are able to meet the requirement that, you know,
for registration
allows INEC to register you in the first place. But beyond just registering and becoming a political party, there are other conditions that you have to meet, especially when it comes to actually contesting election, like, you know, as spelled out in that 225A of the Constitution. So if you don't meet this constitutional requirement to continue to exist as a political party, I mean, should you actually continue to exist?
Yeah, you see.
Should there really be any sentiment in this, really? I mean, because, for instance, the judge who gave the ruling did not do so on his own. Some people went to him to say, look, I mean, went to the court to say, this party, this party, you know, have failed to meet, you know, this constitutional requirement. Therefore,
no, what should there
be sentiment in this?
What should interest Nigerians is to know who those former lawmakers are working for.
Okay.
How may the existence of those parties affect their own chances of either becoming anything in the country? Why did they choose to go? At what point did they realize that the existence of these parties infringement on the illegal on justice? So it is not about the constitution now. It is about the timing. You should have, don't forget, appeal court had given ruling on this on May and said, please hold forth this thing and we'll visit it in October. We will give ruling on it on October, so nobody should go into it again for now. So that was what surprises everybody, that a federal high court, lower than an appeal court, should delve into that, disrespected the order of an appeal court, and now went and gave judgment in a case that the appeal court has said, stand down and we will give pronouncement on it in October.
Which is not yet.
Which means that there must be something fishing. Who prompted this? What prompted this rush judgment by Leaf? So it's not as if that is unlawful for a court or for people, for opponents, to now take advantage of a loophole of opponents, to now say, okay, we put you at an incredible disadvantage by going to court to disregister you, since you have not put your house in order.
Yes. All right. Okay, so as we wrap up on this, just one more question for you, Chuka. Shouldn't this open for by the way, and if, for instance, the 5 parties that are involved in this case, that are affected by this case, if they go to the appeal, I mean, if they appeal this judgment and it's not, they don't receive favorable judgment, I mean, whether they are going to appeal individually or whether they are going to appeal as a group, as a group to appeal. If, for instance, if it doesn't favor them, isn't this opportunity also for all of the political parties that will be affected to actually come to, you know, turn in support for a particular, maybe, let's say, for instance, maybe NDC. It's okay. We are giving up our ambition because we can't, so let's just go and support. Maybe it's an opportunity. What do you say?
I don't think that will happen. It cannot happen because all these people are pursuing personal interests.
But the point is that if they appeal, don't forget, election is a general refugees. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If, for instance, that and the appellate court does not favor them, and maybe even if they go up to the Supreme Court and still does not favor them, I mean, they lose out. Yeah. I mean, at that point, it's no longer a case of I want to fulfill my ambition. And so does it open opportunity for them to say, okay, let's look for a particular candidate, maybe that is still popular, and then
those
our support?
I still maintain that these people may, some of them may not, some may. Okay. Because if you look at Zenith Labour Party, for instance, it didn't come out to win election. It came out as a spoiler.
Yes.
Because if you see Labour Party was gaining momentum, gaining popularity and everything, somebody say, oh, the only way to cut, to clip his wings is to look for a parallel party very close to that.
Used to be the chairman of the Labour Party.
Yes. So this particular party, I'm using it as an example because it is one that will not, maybe NDC is after the ruling party, is the one that will become most popular after the ruling party. And somebody like this Zenith Labour Party will never go the way of NDC, because ab initio it came out to oppose whoever was for the popularity of Labour Party. So some of them, and then Atiku, for instance, who is a major contender, I don't see him going back to APC. For even for ego, for self-respect, for whatever he thinks that he represents, he may not go for APC, and the likelihood of joining, he will not support NDC, just for ego again, just for say, oh, I don't think I will lower myself. If you look at somebody like Amechi, that is the running mate now, you know, it's a man ruled by arrogance and self-aggrandizement. So he will not go so, he will consider going so low, you know, going if he decides, oh, there's no way for me in ADC and there's no other place, he won't go to PDP, which is also having issues. The only two parties that are now good brides, which can go and contest, people can even go and identify with APC and NDC. Apart from the two, these other ones are just people that are there. Many of them are even looking for how somebody can say, come and join us, come and follow us chop.
Yes.
So apart from Accord Party, because Adeleke's presence, Adeleke may be a good bride for other parties. Being a sitting governor, he's coming with some electoral values, coming with some money. Apart from he may not have a much electoral value, but at least he has the money to prosecute an election and win. So I don't see these smaller parties going anywhere. Perhaps some of these people can approach Atiku because he can lend his support. He can yield his support to some of, especially NDC. They may say, oh, since it is like this, why not come and work with us? If we win, all of us will enjoy it. Okay, but see this other party that people don't even AAP and the other, I don't think anybody will go there.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. I think that this is one case that the judiciary will have to be fast about whatever it is that they have, because election is January, and so they have to do this expeditiously. If this other party,
just a few months left,
they would to contest election.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Morning.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins. Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you will be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So it's
as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So, the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. By eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for smarter navigation, for customizable alerts, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Entrepreneurship is for everybody, but not everybody is for entrepreneurship.
They are the dreamers.
I remember it was like 3 a.m. by 21st of December 2021.
The disruptors.
Life is not affordable, let's be real.
The doers.
BusinessDay Academy has trained over 3,000 event professionals.
In a place where the odds don't play fair, they play harder.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected turns.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching like things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw. I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
And real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And not only yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on BusinessDay television.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Balata.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Balata.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
A few days after Nigeria marks Democracy Day on June 12th, the conversation continues around the state of the nation's democracy. While the country has sustained democratic rule for over 2 decades, concerns remain about governance, electoral integrity, internal party democracy, and growing disputes arising from party primaries. Recent complaints by aspirants across political parties, including allegations of irregularities and the substitution of candidates who emerged from primary elections, have once again raised questions about how democratic Nigeria's political process truly is. Well, this is the big story this morning, and joining me to discuss this conversation is Damian Ajayi, as a public affairs analyst. Thank you for joining us on the big story, Damian. Hello, Damian. Do we have you? Damian, if you could please unmute your microphone so we can hear you. Damian? Right, we'll go on a quick break and we'll be right back now for the big story. Do stay with us.
Welcome back. This is still the big story right here on Business Day Television. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Before we went on the break, I was speaking to our public affairs analyst who is joining us this morning. Damian Ajayi joins us here in Lagos. He's joining us virtually. Thank you for joining the show, Damian.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning,
Right.
Lizzie.
Good
Nice
morning
to
and
see
happy
you.
Democracy Day in areas, if there's anything like that. But let's talk about the Democracy Day now that celebrations are over. What would you say that Nigerians should be reflecting on about the state of the country's democracy?
Well, I can hardly hear you, but then I think if you can hear me, can you hear me?
I can hear you crystal clear.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Do you want me
Happy
to take my question
Democracy Day
again?
in areas.
Hello,
Happy
Damian.
Democracy Day in areas. Yeah, I can hear you.
Carry on, carry on.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good morning once again. Happy Democracy Day in areas. Well, democracy, um, in my own humble opinion, is an ideal. You know, it's not a destination. It's a journey, and I think that for us in Nigeria, we have something substantial to celebrate, considering the fact that this is the longest democratic dispensation we've had since 1999, unbroken transition of power. I think it means a lot for us, considering our political history. I think it means a lot for us, and as we continue on this journey, we have so much also to learn, so much also to put in place, and also so much also to ponder on. And I think as we do this, we can be better at it. We can meet the expectation of millions of Nigerians who are looking up to our leaders for democratic gains and development.
Right, and it's 27 years after the return to democratic rule. Would you say that Nigeria's democracy is maturing, or are we merely enduring?
Well, it depends on what you mean by maturing and enduring, but definitely it's safe to say that we are not where we used to be. If you look at the fall of the First Republic between 1963 and 1966, we look at the fall of the Second Republic between 1979 and 1983, and we look at the aborted Third Republic in 1993, and the Fourth Republic, we started 1999, upon which you have been using 27 years now, still counting. I think that we are maturing. Yes, we have rooms to do more. The tenets of democracy, inclusivity, inclusiveness, representation, free and fair elections, freedom of the press, protection of rights. Yes, we've grown. We've grown. We're getting better than we used to be. Our legal system in respect to protection of human rights is getting better compared than it used to be, and some areas. But definitely, it's not safe to say that we do not have a lot, to do, because we necessarily have a lot to do when you compare it with harassment, intimidation by the executives, especially the civic society, press freedom, and all those things. We have so much to do, but then I think we have grown in terms of election, in terms of protection of fundamental rights. As a shine in the Constitution, I think we're better than we were in 1979 in the Third Republic.
So in a nutshell, you'd say that Nigeria's democracy is maturing. But now let's talk about the political parties, because many people would argue that democracy actually begins within these political parties. So how would you assess the state of internal party democracy in Nigeria today?
Wow. Well, also, I would say that it's evolving. Elections, but whether pre-election and post-election matters, there are still things we have not really grappled with substantially in respect to efficiency and development. But then we are better than we used to be. I mean, if you look at the Electoral Act and how it has developed over the years, we cannot but agree that there have been changes that have been introduced. I mean, innovations to help political parties, regulate themselves better. In this 2026 amended, in this 2026 Act, we see introductions, we see how provisions are made in Section 29, Section 31, in respect of vote buying. So, I mean, we are not there yet. We also see provisions in the constitutions. I think Section 156, in respect to political parties and INEC officials. We also see provisions in respect to inter-government council. So, I mean, there are a lot to be done. But then we are better than we used to be, definitely. But there are lots to be done. In respect to internal affairs of political parties, I think that also, in respect to that, the court is giving more powers to parties to conduct their affairs, but then within their own space, within their own constitution and guidelines. And I think to a large extent, we can see that more power is going to the political parties to regulate themselves, except in very, very few occasions where they do not comply with their own constitutions at time and guidelines.
Right, and we've continued to see recurring complaints from aspirants over party primaries, including allegations of irregularities and the substitution of names. Why would you say that this remains a persistent issue in our politics?
Well, it's really sad because free and fair elections go to the core of democratic values and principles, because democracy is about inclusiveness, representation, it's about equality, justice, it's about a free and fair society, and election is very key, in attaining those ideals. So, in respect to the primaries, conducted by various parties this recent times, all of them have had one issues or the other in respect to their primaries and the conduct of the primaries, whether it's in NDC, where in Imo State, people like Dr. Uche was complaining about irregularities, or in FCT Abuja, where people like Aisha Yusufu in the NDC was complaining. We also have that also in APC, where you have people complaining about irregularities. You have in places like Kebbi, where you have Professor Issa Pantami, and in Bauchi, where you have the former foreign minister complaining about irregularities in the primaries. Even coming home to Lagos, we saw how protests, protest upon protest came about, at the state secretariat, complaining about that the winners were substituted for other people. If you look at Agege, for instance, where there was a publication about people winning the primaries in Agege 01 and in Agege 02, and they were substituted, for other candidates. I think this is alarming. This is worrisome. And I think that as we move forward, we should also look at how INEC, can be empowered, not just to be an observer, but also to take very more active role in party primaries, especially when it involves declaration of winner, being returned, elections. I think that will help a lot. But generally, whether it's the ADC, whether it's the NDC, whether it's APC, there have been complaints about substitution, irregularities in primaries, and all that. I believe there are provisions in their various constitutions to handle these conflicts, and I believe that until we begin to see the list that is sent to INEC, we believe that they will find a way to resolve these conflicts.
Now, in a case where aspirants claim that they won primaries but their names were later replaced, what does this do to public confidence?
It erodes public confidence, definitely. It does not encourage popular participation in the political space. It is undemocratic to do so. But then I think that the constitutions of most parties have provisions for appeals, have provisions for conflict resolution, have provisions to handle these issues. But then definitely it erodes public confidence. It discourages popular participation in our democratic process, which is not good.
Right. Do we still have you, Damien? Okay, carry on.
Yeah. Just like I said, election is part of the democratic process because it's a way of establishing the will of the people, and the whole concept of democracy is about popular representation, the will of the people. So I think that when substitutions like this take place in this manner, where the winners are substituted, in a very undemocratic and unlawful manner, I think it's not good for our democracy.
And should we be seeing tougher consequences, right? For parties found to have violated their own guidelines, should we be seeing tougher consequences?
I believe the provision of Section 88 now of the Electoral Act as amended takes good care of that, because ultimately the court is there for the resolution of all civil rights and obligations between parties. So it's clear that notwithstanding anything in the Electoral Act, aspirants who feel that parties have not complied with the Electoral Act or the party constitution or the party guideline can approach the Federal High Court for redress. But like I said also, in addition, moving forward also, I think that INEC should be empowered with specific and direct roles in regulating, sanctioning, and penalizing political parties who violate, who violate, express provisions in their constitutions.
Right, and let me ask you. Let's go beyond politics now, and the elections and politics itself. Let's talk about how well democracy has been able to deliver on its promises of accountability and good governance for Nigerians. How would you rate our democracy so far? Has democracy been able to deliver on its promises?
Well, it has been able to deliver on some. It has been able to deliver on some, honestly, and it has not been able to deliver on others. But then, like I said initially, democracy is an ideal, and these core ideals are equity, freedom, justice, freedom of the press, the protection of rights, and we honestly. I can't say that we have not developed in certain areas, but also we are falling short in certain areas. We still have, people like Daniel Ojoku, Felix. We still have journalists, being harassed, being detained, and all that. So I think it's a serious matter. But beyond that is also the court system. We can say that, okay, if you look at the judicial orders, salaries and allowances passed in 2024, increasing the welfare of the judiciary, the police, act, and all these things, we can see that these are institutions that have been empowered, to strengthen our democracy. Yes, that's why I said in some areas, we are better than we used to be, and in some areas we are better than we used to be, and also in the area of fundamental rights, enforcement of fundamental rights, I believe we are better than we used to be. If you look at the pronouncement that have been coming from the courts in giving a broader interpretation to the provisions of Section 46 of the Constitution and Chapter 4 of the Constitution, and the fundamental right enforcement procedural rules. So when we look at all these things, we say, okay, freedom of rights, protection of rights, press freedom, equality, justice are part of the democratic ideals. So in some respect, we've done well. In some respect, we've not done well.
Right.
Yes. There's so much to grapple with, especially insecurity, which is a serious problem, to our democracy as it is, because you can have, you cannot develop in the democratic space where there is insecurity, where there's insecurity, where the protection of lives and properties are in jeopardy. So I think this present day, that is the danger, the most potent danger to our democracy.
My final question for you, Damien, will be really on what lessons democratic institutions and political parties can take away from the controversies we've seen so far, especially as our attention is now being drawn to the next election cycle. What lessons can we learn?
Well, we can learn so much from our own political history, and we can also learn, in comparative study. If you look at, countries where democracy is very, very strong, like Norway, like Sweden, like Denmark. If we come to Africa, like Mauritius, Ghana, we have people to compare ourselves with and see how they've done better and lessons we can learn. But for me, most importantly, I would say that we should be. The 27 years of democracy has led to stability, political stability to a large extent, if you compare to the First Republic, Second Republic, and the Third Republic, and we should not take that for granted. And we should also know that both the First Republic and the Second Republic were truncated by military coup, because the First Republic fell because of, the consequences, the effect of the 1964 elections. So also the Second Republic fell because of the 1983 elections. So, and that is very important. For the fact that we are able to hold 27 years of broken.
And Damien, I think my question is precisely from the controversies we've seen so far.
What controversies, actually?
Right, the controversies in political parties, the defections here and there, and all of that. So, what can we learn?
We should not. I mean, the lessons we should learn is to not do anything that will undermine political stability, public safety, and our democratic institution. Because at the end of the day, there must be a country before there will be an election. So if we look at our political history, we see that we are still torn apart by ethno-religious, we are still torn apart by, insecurity, nepotism, corruption, and all these things. So the lessons for me now is for the elites and for the people of Nigeria not to take this democracy for granted, knowing that, we do not have any other alternative but to work on it, to build on it, and to grow on it.
Right. Thank you very much, Damian Ajayi, Public Affairs Analyst, for joining us this morning on The Big Story. Thank you for your insight. Well, that's where we'll leave it this morning on The Big Story. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Until tomorrow, do stay with us. For years, investing in Nigeria's stock market came with a waiting period. You could buy or sell shares today, but it would take 2 business days before cash or securities reflected in your account. That changes from June 1st as Nigeria officially adopts a T+1 settlement cycle, meaning transactions will now be completed within 1 business day. Regulators say the move will improve liquidity, reduce market risk, and align Nigeria with major global markets such as the United States and Canada. But beyond the technical jargon, what does this really mean for investors, for brokers, and the broader economy? Welcome to Behind the Headlines. My name is Elizabeth Musa, and joining me to break it down this afternoon is Inyai Uwachuku, Assistant Editor here at BusinessDay. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Lizzie, for having me.
I think I'm going to start by asking you why this transition is being described as a very landmark moment for the Nigerian capital market.
The market is global, and first I give kudos to the SEC, CSCS, and NGS for taking the market, further, in line with what happens in the global space. Today's transitioning to T+1 is a major milestone in the market because before now, we've seen investors who try to either buy or sell stocks, with over time. But 6 months ago, first, the major leap was when 6 months ago, the market transitioned to T+2. Before today, that is T+1. What does T+1 mean? It simply means transaction date plus 1 business day, meaning that the day you buy or sell the stock, the following day, you either get value in terms of the equities credited, in your CSCS account, or the cash value credited in your bank account. So this has been on in markets like developed markets like the US and Canada. So this what we are seeing today is a major milestone in Nigeria because it also aligns with what happens globally.
Fine. And how does this differ from the regular, how does the T+1 settlement cycle differ from the regular T+2 cycle that Nigerians are used to?
Okay, like I said before, unlike when you had T+2, you could do trade today and get your value after 2 days. Now you do trade today and get value the next day. It's a major shift. It's a major milestone, which almost every investor is actually interested and interested in and had also waited for.
And one of the benefits that we often hear about is faster access to cash, right? What other benefits are there?
Okay, in addition to faster access to cash, you also have faster access to equities.
Okay.
Because you're also going to have the following day, you have, if you are buying stock, the following day, that stock you buy or you bought, will be credited in your CSCS account. The same way your cash will have also hit your bank account. That is one. It also reduces that the risk of waiting for stock to be purchased. There are times when you make an investment advice, investment advice for stocks to be bought or sold. That waiting period has closed now. It has closed now. That risk, because the time you make a decision to either buy or sell, if your broker waits over time, there's that the tendency that you may either not sell or buy at the price you wanted it to be. So that period is closing. And with what is going on now as well, it also gives that liquidity. If you are buying today, there's a tendency that tomorrow you see another stock that you want to invest in, right? You have that money to turn into another way, unlike waiting for another 2 days for the money to hit your account or for you to have those equities credited into your CSCS account.
Fine. And we also see that regulators say that this will reduce counterparty risk. So in simpler terms, just for our viewers, what does that actually mean? Okay,
the counterparty risk here, just like I tried to explain before, when you give an advice, either sell or buy advice, there's the tendency that there will be a delay, on the side of your broker. The time you give that order and the time the transaction will be executed, right? So take for instance, if say company A's share price, closed at 22 naira today, and you want to buy at that 22 naira, that if you don't get that blocked for you immediately, and it lingers, there's a tendency that when the market opens the following day, you're going to buy it at maybe 22 naira 50 kobo. That also goes to selling, right? If you wanted to sell at 22 naira, right, and if they don't sell and get that value for you the following day, there's a tendency that you may also drop then you lose money. Do you understand? So that's counterparty risk. It has to do with timing of transaction, and which this T+1 addresses.
Fine. And let's also talk about investment now. We're seeing Nigeria aligning with countries like Canada, United States. What does this actually mean for our foreign portfolio investment right now?
Before this development, we can see the level of liquidity that has come into the market. We're talking about the 160 trillion, capital market, value, equities market value. I mean, we're also seeing about like a 60%, 60% return year to date. These things are driven by investors' interest in the Nigerian market. Since the FTSE's reclassification of Nigeria's market into into a frontier market, into qualification of Nigeria into a frontier market, which takes effect on 21st of September.
Okay.
A lot of investors, from retail to institutional, be positioning ahead of that expected boom. So this development also helps to strengthen that that part to a bigger, and more interesting market to come.
So you see more investors who are looking to Nigeria. You see them actually. You see this as a boost to foreign investment within the country.
Yes, investment is all about, having value for your money. Having value for your money. First of all, before before the T+2, you had also adjustment of trading time to accommodate foreign investors.
Right.
Good. So the market now closes by 4 p.m. Right. This is to ensure that those investors in other countries who are interested in Nigeria can as well wake up and see something to trade on. Right. So with this development, when everything work, will have to work together, right? And this helps to ensure that as you're putting your money, you can also have value. Not when you buy stock or you're selling, you are following up to know when your account has been credited. Do you understand? So, like I said before, it's all about having value for your money. Not just you're coming in with two naira. You want to have access, have value for that 2 naira you put in, or you want to see that 2 naira, appreciate.
So let's also talk about teething problems that we might see. We've seen that in other markets that decided to embrace this T+1 settlement cycle. We saw, readiness, operational concerns that they faced. Should we expect same in Nigeria?
I think the issue of teething problem, has been resolved ahead of now today, because when the market migrated to T+2, the regulators, ensured that operators upgraded their system, the technology. All this is about technology, It's about technology. Upgraded their technology to capture, the task, ahead, to ensure that the tasks ahead are being taken care of. So anywhere, it may not, it's for me, I don't think it's going to be an issue, because we didn't have much of that, when it was experimented 6 months ago, and the same technology, being used should also be able to perfect it.
Until next week, be good.
We're bringing it to you on your seat. Welcome to the social listening segment, where we bring you the stories, debate, and moments generating conversations across social media. I am Deborah Eze. Now let's get into what's making waves online. And of course, our first stop, we're going to begin with security concerns dominating national conversations with the latest violence which happened in Kebbi State, as suspected terrorists killed 20 villagers in Lakurawa community, with several others sustaining injury and residents fleeing for fear of their lives. The attack highlights the persistent security challenges facing northwestern Nigeria. And beyond the tragic loss of lives, continued insecurity threaten farming activities and the safety of communities across the region, serving as another reminder that in several parts of the country, daily life is still negotiated under fear, and Nigerians on social media are expressing concerns. Let's take a look at how netizens are expressing themselves with this development. Now, the first reaction from Cole Richard, and he said, this is the 81% improvement in Tinubu's security achievement. And another reaction from Omar Becky, and she said, Republic of Bad News. Another reaction from Paul Davier, Nigeria. Quite short, but that actually carries a lot of words. And the final reaction for that story from Baba Josie, and he said, now today this one happened again, Tinubu must go. Now, it's actually very sad that every time news of another deadly attack breaks, the number seems to be bigger while the outrage actually gets smaller, because people, I don't want to say people are getting used to it, but you know, when you open your phone and then you see that the news from yesterday is quite different from the one for today, the outrage just automatically and naturally becomes smaller. And that is a very dangerous place for any country to be, if you ask me. 25 lives are not just statistics, they are families shattered, communities traumatized, and the livelihoods of these people are being destroyed. And Nigerians want to see, I think all Nigerians are asking for is to see more condolences after these attacks. They want evidence that, you know, our lives are being protected. And the real question from all of this is, how many more communities must suffer before security gains become something people can actually feel on the ground, which is actually a very, very sad situation. But now let's move to the second conversation on the social listening this morning, which is sadly still on insecurity, as it is 1 month after the attack on schools in Oyo State, and the students and teachers are yet to gain their freedom. And this incident triggered protests by parents, teachers, various civil society groups, and even the recruitment of 1,000 forest guards, and ordered the deployment of a special rescue team to secure the release of the victims by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we have a video of one of the families of the victim. Let's take a look at the video.
Tí àwọn ajínigbé gbé ní May 15 ní àwòrán ẹ̀ṣẹ́lẹ̀ lọ́kọ̀ mi ti ń ṣiṣẹ́ tí wọ́n fi lọ gbé wọn. Ẹ dákun, mò ń bẹ̀ yín ní ẹ̀yin ìjọba, Gọ́fúnà Ṣèyí Mákindé, àwọn gbẹ́ ń ṣiṣẹ́, ṣùgbọ́n ẹ jẹ́ ká ríṣẹ́ yín, èmi nìkan àtàwọn ọmọ nínú ilé láti látọ̀ títí bí ìsìn oṣù kan ti pé lónìí. Ẹ dákun ẹ ṣàánú wa, ẹ dákun ẹ ṣàánú wa, ẹ já àwọn ọmọ ajá àwọn ọkọ̀ wa jáde. Ẹ dákun ẹ ṣàánú wa, ó ti ń pẹ́. Ẹ ṣàánú wa, bàbá sọ̀hún, ẹ dákun ẹ ṣàánú wa, ẹ bá sọ fún gọ́fúnà wa ìtàwọn èèyàn yìí bá fẹ́ kán fún un. Ó ti ń pẹ́, ẹ ṣàánú wa. Àwọn fa ọmọ kéékèèké sílé mi nìkan àtàwọn ọmọ inú ilé, ẹ ṣàánú mi. Ó ti ń pẹ́, ẹ dákun ẹ ṣàánú wa. Àmọ́ tán jà, àmọ́ kan tí wọ́n fún wọn nú igbó tí wọ́n wà. Òtútù pọ̀, òjò ń rọ̀.
Concern is, how long is actually too long? But let's take a look at some of the tweets that netizens put out there concerning this situation. And the first tweet is from ex-political analyst, and he said Adelabo didn't need to beg before the sent special squad from Abuja to rescue his family. Tinubu, I spit for your face. Another reaction from DG Cried, and he said, get help somewhere else. That black old woman named Tinubu is not willing to do that at all. Another reaction from Nova Play, and he said, a pity the World Cup has distracted us from the reality. Nigerians move on so easily. The first reaction, I must really say that the anger is very, very, very understandable, because when a kidnapping actually drags on for weeks, it leaves families trapped in fear and uncertainty. I'm very sure from the video that we watched, we can hear the fear in the wife of the kidnapped victim. You can hear the fear in her voice. And beyond that emotional pain, it also reinforces, you know, a growing public concern about security. It also, you know, what Nigerians are demanding is just updates. They don't just give us updates as to what is happening. What we want is accountability. We want transparency and also want to see results. I must say that no family should have to mark 1 month anniversary of a kidnapping without, clear answers. And we really hope that this cries from the family of the victims would get to the right channel, the right government channel, and they get to swing into action and bring together the family of the victim with their family. But let's move on from the issue of insecurity and move on to the final conversation this morning on the social listening, which is Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has appointed his daughters Fatima, Maria, and Alima Dangote to key executive positions across the Dangote Group as part of the succession and expansion plans. Fatima will lead commercial operations in the oil and gas business, and Maria will head commercial operations for the cement and food businesses, while Alima will oversee the family office and international operations. Now, the appointment have stirred conversations online, with many users pointing to the development and arguing the importance of gender in succession and inheritance. Let's take a look at how netizens are reacting to this. Now, the first reaction from Ari Kript, and Ari Kript said, no woman has grown a company to worth $1 trillion US, not one. All the women divorced on Forbes lists could not increase those wealth. Now that's sounding like 8 right now. Another one from King Rio Webb, and he said, sir, it's their father's company. It is their father's company. Another reaction reads, the most laughable situation is that most people that talk about looking for a male child to carry on their legacy don't even have legacy. Their name doesn't open doors. I'm going to take that again. The most laughable situation is that most people that talk about looking for a male child to carry on their legacy don't even have legacy. Their name doesn't even open doors. And it's actually really sad that in big 2026, we are actually still having conversation about gender and succession. I find it very, very appalling to see the tweets from netizens. And I cannot but agree with the last tweet. If we can have the last tweet up again. I cannot agree with the last tweet that actually said this is actually a very laughable situation, because really the people who actually complain about this really don't even have any legacy for their unborn children to actually move on with. So in this 2026, we should actually stop having conversations about whether a girl should take over a family business or not, because the real question should be, are they qualified? Are they qualified? If this girls are qualified, why then should you bring up the fact that they are actually girls and they should be in their husband's house? Family businesses around the world actually prepare people for the next generation of leadership, and what actually matters is competence and the governance around the organization, and also the results, not just the family name attached to the appointment. And we shouldn't be crying more than the bereaved actually in this situation. Aliko Dangote has seen his daughters fit to step into the shoes of the various positions that he actually gave to them, and that is what it should be. On my final note, looking at the public reaction to these stories, what they reveal about the Nigerian current concerns are security and accountability still outweigh economic and business issues in the national conversation. I think the security issue should be our focal points right now, and not discussions about succession and who and gender and who should take over their father's legacy. Anyways, these are the stories making the waves across social media in Nigeria today. Thank you for watching Social Listening. I am Deborah Eze. Do have yourself a beautiful morning.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Money.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you will be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So
But as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. I mean, by eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and, start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for a smarter navigation, for customizable alerts, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Business Day Media hosted the 2026 edition of its manufacturing conference on the 26th of May in Lagos. Themed Manufacturing Nigeria's Future, Jobs, Competitiveness, and Industrial Prosperity, the conference brought together key stakeholders across government, manufacturing, trade, and investment sectors to discuss the future of Nigeria's industrial growth. The event commenced with opening remarks by the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of Business Day Media, Innocent Una, highlighting the importance of manufacturing to Nigeria's economic diversification, job creation, and industrial development agenda.
The government is looking towards value addition. So in Nigeria export ecosystem, over the time, the government is looking at what we can get from what we have in Nigeria. So it's an opportunity for a number of people to also increase their capacity, and this requires a lot of infrastructure availability and also a lot of other incentives that will empower exporters to do more.
Delivering the keynote address, President and Chairman of Council of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Leye Kupoluyi, represented by Kola Aderibigbe, emphasized the need for stronger collaboration between policymakers and the private sector to improve Nigeria's manufacturing competitiveness. The conference progressed with panel discussions featuring industry leaders, trade experts, policymakers, and business executives who examined challenges affecting manufacturers, including infrastructure deficits, foreign exchange volatility, energy costs, and access to finance.
The entire competitiveness as a country, Nigeria, and as a state hinges on the gross domestic product and the competitiveness of our economy. And it also hinges on the shared prosperity as well as a whole for the people across the nation. So I think it's incredibly important, which is why I'm here. And I was delighted to share the fact that under the leadership of Mr. Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, we recently launched the Lagos State Industrial Policy 2025 to 2030. And with that launch, it was incredibly important to drive all those pillars that I just mentioned to you. And we're also ensuring that partnering with the private sector is a critical component and a critical success factor to achieving the outcomes that we've outlined in that policy. And so that's also why we're here today. And I really look forward to continuing to partner with you. And I say, well done, Business Day, as always. Good partners, and we look forward to continuing to partner with you in Lagos State Government. Thank you.
Speakers also explored opportunities for innovation, local production, and export expansion. Speakers at the event further stressed the importance of creating policies that support industrial growth, encourage investment, and position Nigerian manufacturers to compete effectively in regional and global markets. Moderated sessions also gave participants the opportunity to engage panelists directly, ask questions, and contribute perspectives on the future of Nigeria's manufacturing sector.
Currently, Nigeria, we have absolutely nothing to write home about when it comes to the power generation. Currently, we are generating not more than 5,000 megawatts, and the transmission and distribution company are not doing enough. So I think the policy should be centered on how to ensure that the manufacturing sectors enjoy electricity, especially in concentrated areas where manufacturing sector are expected to, localized or built their infrastructure. So those zones are expected are supposed to be enjoying at least a stable electricity.
A major highlight of the conference was the emphasis on collaboration between government and the private sector, as stakeholders called for practical solutions to drive industrial prosperity and sustainable economic growth. Some of the speakers and participants also shared insights on the current realities within the sector and the expectations of Nigeria's manufacturing industry moving forward.
One of the fiscal policy that has been enacted recently is to try to see how the tax will be able to be compiled in one section, to be able to see how the state and the federal level to bring up a particular body to be able to administer the tax, and that is to mitigate multiple taxation in Nigerian economy, and which will help to ease business on the long run.
Norma Obona, reporting for Business Day Television.
As Nigeria stands at a critical turning point, we move beyond the conversation of mere survival. This year, Business Day presents the 2026 edition of the CEO Forum, themed From Stability to Shared Prosperity. Join the nation's most influential CEOs, policymakers, and business leaders with keynote insights from Taiwo Oyedele, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, and the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Kadoso, alongside a powerful lineup of voices shaping Nigeria's economic future. Happening on the 16th of July 2026 here in Lagos. For more information, call Uchenna on 0809 645 3535 or Shegun on 0812 024 3167 or Daniel on 0802 756 4653. This is not just a conference. It's where conversations become decisions that shape the future of business.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Doreen is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International News Media Association. All welcome, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.